What's going on, people? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is I kind of wanted to do like a follow-up part 2 to the TT video that I did. I realized that I quite really didn't get into a lot of my planning, what I want to do with the car really in depth. I kind of left the video on a cliffhanger. Just really go a little bit more in depth with some of my plans so that I can finally get you guys meeting the fleet that is right now and start really diving into doing some actual stuff to these cars. So for my TT, like I told you guys in the last video, it is a 2004 Audi TT Quattro. It has a B8 engine code and it is paired to a 6-speed transmission. Currently in the car, it has the stock engine with a stock turbo. The car is tuned, never dyno tuned it or whatever, so I don't know how much power it makes, but currently the car does not produce any boost, to which I believe that the turbo has a faulty wastegate, and more specifically, I feel like the wastegate diaphragm is torn. I was getting an underboost code after I put this turbo in, and I realized that I feel like it's the turbo itself. I've done smoke tests, look at all my connections, realized that the car was not making any boost, and I came to the conclusion that it was the turbo, because prior to me installing this turbo, the turbo that was in the car, it boosted fine. Only reason I ended up putting this turbo in because it's a lower mileage turbo, and I was just refreshing the engine, refreshing all the gaskets, the seals, things of that nature to get the car to run even better. So with that being said, the turbo that's in it, I realized that it's no good. So I do have another turbo, but before I get into any of that, I just want to show you guys what I have behind me, or to the side of me rather, which is one of my plans for what I'm now going to consider V2 of this build. So in front of me are some components. Let's start with the bigger of the two. So this right here is a AEB cylinder head from a 99 Passat. I actually got a really good deal on this when I bought it. I believe I got it for a little less than $200, I believe. It was from a junkyard out in Long Island. Complete, just like as soon as I found it, I got it. And the reason why I got this cylinder head is because, please correct me if I'm wrong, but of the 1.8T cylinder heads that came on these engines, of the 058 and the 06A variety, the AEB cylinder head is a large port cylinder head. So when people, put together these Frankenstein 1.8T builds, they'll usually take a AEB cylinder head because it's a large port. Large port means more air, and whenever I get to putting this thing together, I'll get a little bit more technical, but yes, this is a 1.8T cylinder head off of a 99 Passat AEB cylinder head, and yes, it is compatible with engine blocks, of other 1.8T engines. This engine doesn't come with VVT, as does the 2004 cylinder head, so some people opt to just code out the VVT and put a resistor on the plug. Some people swap over the VVT components. I'm not really too sold on what I'm going to do yet when it comes to that. My tuner says that I don't have to put VVT on. It will just sacrifice some lower end torque, I believe. Not really sure yet. Pretty dirty cylinder head. I still have to clean it up and things like that, but this is my cylinder head. In this box here, I have some various parts. Like I have a spring compressor. I have a coolant flange from URO. It's the I believe it's like the aluminum one or something. Spare fuel rail here, and I think I have the oil cooler down there and the oil filter housing. I believe that's it. I got those secondhand. This is like the turbo inlet flange for a KO4 turbo, and I'm gonna get into this in a minute. Looks like a heart, doesn't it? Like, looks like an aorta. Whatever. Have some engine building stuff in here. Like I have another piston ring compressor. I have a flex hone in there, which I'm probably not going to use because, contrary to the time that I bought it, I thought that it was going to be a pretty good thing to use. I do have some rods in there. I have another fuel pump. I have some 630cc Siemens Deca injectors in there. And I believe that's it as far as it goes for the engine building stuff. This is the last piece to this Frankenstein motor build. This is a 06A 1.8T block out of a 225 Audi TT. I believe it was a 2002 model year, so whatever engine code this is the block from that engine. Bought it from a guy whose timing belt had snapped. He ended up parting out the car, and I ended up picking up this short block for a really good amount of money. It comes with, let's see if I can pull these out. Still comes with all the pistons. Of the 225 horsepower 1.8 Ts, they did come with 20 millimeter wrist pins on the pistons, and I think some other hardened components. Don't quote me. But I wanted another 225 engine block for obvious reasons. It comes with the bigger wrist pins, and it's just what already came in the car. So I opted to pick this up. And yeah, this is going to be my engine block for the engine that I eventually built. So now this brings us back to like square one. Why did I show you guys these components? And what do I plan on doing? I plan on doing a big turbo build once I realized that when I had pulled the motor out and put that turbo back in, that the car no longer boosted. I just wanted to do away with the stock configuration of this car. The turbo is in a very precarious place on this car, getting the downpipe off, things of that nature. They're very tight. And some people find it much easier to service the turbo and the downpipe by just pulling the whole motor. Some people also do it when servicing the clutch as well. And that's the way that I did it. And just the thought of having to pull this motor again, put another stock turbo in it, and then say that one doesn't work as well, or say I continue to run into these issues, it's going to be really, 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 really like defeating to go through that again, because although it didn't take me long to pull this motor, it's a really daunting task. It's like you're pulling the whole power plant out of this small chassis, and it tells you a lot if when people service the turbo, they pull the whole motor. If people service the clutch, they pull the whole motor, separate the transmission. Like, this isn't the easiest, it's not the easiest, most roomy area in this car to work on. And then on top of that, on these cars that came in countries where we are left-hand drive, we have a lot more things in the area of the turbo, like the brake booster and the master cylinder and other things that are in that area. If you work on one of these cars that are overseas in like the UK, because they drive on the right side of the car, on the passenger side for like the US, for example, they don't have all those things in the way of the turbo. It's the same configuration. They just don't have their brake booster or their master cylinder on the driver's side where we have it. So it's easier to service the turbo, downpipe, things like that. Like, I've seen videos of people overseas working on these cars, servicing the turbo, with the engine in. I don't find it the same on the configuration that we have it here. So with all that being said, what I plan on doing is I plan on getting another long block 225 motor, dropping it in this car. Now, you may be asking me, why am I going to do that? If I already have these components to build out a motor, why don't I just do that, go big turbo, and just do it one time? Well, money, really. So of all these parts that I have like my piston ring installer tool, and lubricant and a hone and a cylinder head, and that short block over there, and rods and stuff like that. Like, I have some components, but we have to think of the other components, the things that add up. A gasket set, various nuts and bolts, timing belt kit, front mount intercooler, the turbo itself, the log manifold, boost controller, wastegate, or if you do an external wastegate, and the list just goes on. Clutch, beefier axles if you're pushing a lot of power. There's a lot of money that goes into doing a big turbo build, and I've never done one before, but just based on the list that I've seen people compile, and just looking at what I have and I don't have, and I'm just seeing that it's a lot of money. It's going to eclipse a really high amount of money to go through with this big turbo build. And the way that the car is sitting now, it stopped boosting. The engine, the idle moves up a little bit, and I found no outside, reasoning as to why it's doing it. Taking the motor out, putting a better downpipe in the car, putting the other turbo that I have in the car, just making sure everything is cleaned up as much as possible, and just sending the car out as it is. Right now, the car's not fun to drive. It doesn't boost. I have it tuned, and yes, it felt faster, and now I can't experience any of that. So instead of just putting the car on the back burner and just saving up money to then just complete this whole build at once, I can invest a little bit of money into the car now, drive it as is because it's still a fun vehicle as is, and enjoy a small-ish all-wheel drive, cruiser that I can just have fun with and hit the gas and it will go. That's where my mind is at. I'm just gonna probably just buy a downpipe, a better downpipe for the car, get a short block, put the other turbo that I have into it, put this same stock turbo inlet pipe into the car, and just send it. Honestly, just send it and see what happens. If I can find a good deal on a hybrid turbo or a Franken turbo or something that I can probably verify that may work better than the stock turbo, I will. But I'm just probably gonna send it as is. And I'm just going to try to have as much fun with this car as possible until I can get enough money to do V2 and then just put the car into the night that way. So most likely the next time you see this car on the channel, I will be pulling out the motor and putting in the other motor, putting in another downpipe, and just driving the car as it is and enjoying the car as it is. And if I run into any issues from there, then I'll realize that there's something bigger at hand, and then I'll figure it out. Stay tuned for the next video on this car because I will be pulling out this whole engine, and I will be doing some other things to this vehicle as well. So like these random lines that are just out of pocket and just they don't look good. I'm gonna clean up this whole thing and just try to make this engine bay look as good as possible and make it look clean. I'm gonna take my time to clean the engine bay when the engine is out. As you can see, there's like a whole bunch of dust and just random stuff in here, and give this car a good clean. I'm gonna be changing out my catch can system as well and putting in something else. So it's gonna be fun. This car will look so much cleaner than it does now. If there's anyone out there who has a good cowl for this car, please let me know. This cowl isn't too bad, but it just has some cracks in some areas, and this is all messed up. So, but yeah, this car is gonna be a long-term project, but it's gonna be worth it. And this is what I meant about where the turbo is. So this is like the boost pipe that goes down to one of the hoses that go down to the twin intercoolers, and the turbo is tucked behind here. So you can only imagine how foolish it is to work on the turbo side of this car. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's my plan. I know this video was a lot of talking, and trust me, I just want to get all these talking videos out the way so that we can get some work done. So in the next video on this car, I'll be taking you along with me. We're going to be picking up another 6-speed for this car because it's just more prep for V2. I do want to reinforce the shift forks in the transmission, and certain components like this on cars that are getting rarer. Parts are getting more expensive. I want to have a spare transmission, so I'm going to pick that up, and I'm also going to be picking up long block, another engine for this car, swapping everything over. I'm going to probably smoke test the damn engine before I even put it in, if I can even do that, and we're going to send it, and we're going to have fun with this car. I want to do so many different things to this car. I want to bag this car. I want to put some wheels on this car, some wide wheels, as wide as I can on this car. I want to wrap this car. I want to do so many things to this car. I want to take it to the PDR guy and get one of the dents out and just have fun with it. This car is too damn small and too damn nimble for it to just be sitting in the driveway. I want to take this car out and I want to drive it, and I want to have one of the best looking TTs in the world. Thank you for sticking around. This may have been a more quick, like I said, talkative video, but just want to continue to take you guys along for the complete journey. In the next video, we will be getting dirty again because we will be going back to the R32. And you see all those boxes in the corner? Yeah, my daily needs a lot of work, so stay tuned for that too. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.